I arrived in London January 1989 on a BA flight from Jamaica to Heathrow in the midst of snow. It was very cold, and a good family friend came from Manchester and took me to Manchester. So I stayed in Manchester for about 4 months before coming to London.
It was fascinating for me just being able to jump on the trains and stuff, because back in the Caribbean, as well in Jamaica where I'm from, they didn't really have trains, and we just usually jump into these little minibuses to get from point A to point B, from city to city, and you just cram in loads of people. They don't like stop from bus stop to bus stop on a schedule. So that was quite an interesting and really good experience for me actually on public transport.
When I came and I saw the houses joined together, I thought there were factories. It was a big shock. Coming to London, well, not London, Birmingham, because I lived in Birmingham a few years before I got married and came to London. It was a culture shock, you'd say. People with coats on or whatever, because it was like cold, September time. In those days, it was pretty cold. We spent a lot of time indoors, whereas in Jamaica, you spend most of your time outside playing, running around with children and doing different things. It was more open. You've got your own house and you've got your own land, so there was a lot of space to run around and do different things. When I first came to England and I saw trains, buses and whatever, it was completely different to my expectation and what I'd left home. When I saw my mom going to this place and said we have arrived there, I was shocked. And there are other people living in the house as well, which was different, strange to us, because we've never lived with other people apart from our immediate family, in the yard and so on. So things were completely different.
Yes, and also with me coming direct from a sunny country, warm, and coming direct into, I would say, winter, that was make a vast impression upon me. So I was hoping that within a short while winter would just go. It would only last a month. But to my surprise, winter can carry on until April and even beyond. So the difference, what I missed there was the sunshine, the brightness and everything. I realized that we got to have wearing jumpers, cardigan, overcoat, which I didn't have one when I came at Heathrow Airport. So the person who came to meet me lent me his. So that was sort of a shock for me. And the cold, it was very cold. So coming from Jamaica was something you wish you could go back at the time, but there's no point of going back, or there's no returning. So it's life now begins right here, my future.
When I arrived from Jamaica in 1964, I was 6 years old, and my parents lived in Neasden. We were in a house that had 3 families. So we were in a room, and there was another family in another room, and another family in the 3rd bedroom, and then we shared the reception area and the kitchen. And there were 2 cookers in the house, and that was my parents couldn't afford their own house. Eventually did managed to buy a house which cost £4,500, and that was a lot then, because I think wages were like £2, £2 or £3 a week, which wasn't a lot. But when I arrived, my brother was already here. He was born in 1960. So when I came, I was happy to see him, because my parents had left me with my relatives in Jamaica. So that's the part of London, and it was all strange to me, because all the houses were so close together. you just went from one house to the next. Whereas in Jamaica, although it's a small island, the houses were more spread out, and you had your own bit of land. Yeah.
Well, during my adolescence, I moved from my uncle's house. We moved into an estate, lived on a council estate, and we had a balcony. We just used to play out on the balcony, play out with our neighbours, play tennis, play football, play two balls, skipping. We played out a lot because you didn't really have the TV, so we played out, and we also set up our own clubs. They were building the estate while we were growing up, so we made our own clubs up, and they gave us this empty house that we could have our club in. So yeah, it's good. Freedom, right? Free.
Well, funny enough, I didn't come to live in London first. I came to London 1970. I was living in Wiltshire, a little village where the people used to raise their pig and little chicken outside. Just a small village. And then after the breakdown of my marriage, and I came to London to live with my sister. Until now, I still don't like trains very much. I don't travel by train a lot. But I remember when I came to London, because in the country, the drivers actually know everybody at the bus. And you have to join a queue. And if you try to get on the bus before anyone, the driver put you off because you know the first person at the stop. So when I came to London, I started doing the same thing. One evening, I was coming from work, me and a friend of mine, and we used to watch this soap that I used to love. And my friend reached home, and I was still at the bus stop because I joined the queue, and everybody come just push me aside, because I try to stick to the principle I used to in the country. They just pushed me aside. So I never reach home till late. And then when I start doing the same thing now, I start getting tell off. When I start jumping, going in front of anyone, I start getting tell off. So at first I say I wouldn't live in London, but I didn't have a choice. And now I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, to be honest. When I was living with my husband, I didn't have much choice. I used to just, like my mother, just work and get on with what I have to do until pressure started and start talking with other women, and then I found out things wasn't right. So I decided I'm not putting up with it anymore. So even the children, I'm the one who used to have to send home money to the children and run the house. All my husband used to do was just pay the bill for the rent before we bought a house. Pay the bill for the house. Not all the bills really, but when we buy the house, like electric bill, I used to have to buy the food, send home money for the children. So things was really, really tough. When I retire, I go and I learn cake decorating, curtain making, flower arranging since I retired. I didn't have the chance when I was younger.